All right, this is a trade recap for Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. As usual, we are continuing on with one and done. This was, hell no, I think about it, 19 of 30. Pretty sure it was 19 of 30. Yeah, another good day. Had Pat back today. Well, he wasn't trading since he's traveling. He was on screen share to give some guidance, which was greatly appreciated, especially with the way kind of this morning session unfolded. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, if you're looking for high-level coaching, mentoring, or just trying to get the lay of the land when it comes to day trading, I recommend you check out his service. All right, so this is Pat's education service. It's one of those things where come here, you can look over the information. Like I said, if you're looking for a coach and mentor, he is one of, if the best that I know of, personally. Let me share my screen though, so you guys can actually see that. Otherwise, there is no point. And yeah, again, it's one of those things where he's been in the markets for over a decade. He's trained a ton of traders. His education, as far as I know, is second to none. Then he proves it every day. So if you're interested, like I said, in a high level coach and mentor for learning how to day trade, or if you're just new to day trading in general and you want to start off on the right foot, this is the man you want to see. And if you're kind of wondering, what else he, again, kind of has out there, if you want to like kind of a little bit of a preview of that, you can head over to his, if I can pull that one up real quick, YouTube channel, where he has, I think at this point, over 1,500 free videos, ton of content. You get a preview of what it's like. He does recaps, lessons, all that. So it's one of those things where definitely check it out, look it over if you want to kind of, like I said, a sampling of the information he provides and teaches us in the service. And it's one of those things where, yeah, with that being said, let's get into the main part of today. So here is the live recording, or the recording of the live trading session from this morning. If you're new here, daily charts on the left, 1 day, 1 minute intraday chart here in the middle, order execution here on the right. These blue levels are the levels that Pat lays out for us the night before and refines the morning of, typically, for our trade plans. And then we follow them. I throw my risk levels on there because I just like to see them. And that is just how that looks. Put myself back in here. Go ahead and hit play on this. This is about 40 seconds before the open. You can see we're trading between the channel on levels for this channel on Qs, while at the same time we are below this lower level on SPY. So we're kind of just waiting for things to more or less open up, set up, and see exactly what triggers. Again, as usual, make sure, again, I like to stretch out my daily chart just so I can make sure, like, especially if there's going to be moving averages potentially involved, that we can see everything. That's how it's interacting, especially the short-term moving averages, because they move around a little bit. There's the open, so I should have had basically your orders kind of somewhat prepared, and thus things move around a little bit. Opened right up on top of that kind of starting position on Q, so didn't enter into that one immediately. I kind of want to see that reaction because SPY is also stuck below that level, which I believe, yeah, it's the prior close, and playing around with that lower range and kind of piercing through it. Got that kind of opening candle volume, little whippy. Nothing super out of the ordinary in that regard. And then again, kind of seems to be the theme for the past couple of days is a little bit of patience and discipline, just letting these things kind of set up a little bit. I generally like to take off the auto adjustments for my 1 minute charts because it's one of those things where it just kind of, I don't know, kind of masks some of the action a little bit, or again, just is distracting. So again, still kind of close-ish into that level. Kind of did pop up. Again, SPY is still below, though it has the 100 below it. So it's one of those things you kind of want it, want both ideally testing support at the same time. And right now things are looking a little weak, kind of like a day two continuation to me. But again, still possibly get a reaction as bad as taught us. It's one of the things like sometimes even if it's looking weak, generally you're going to get a first reaction of some kind. So Q's came into that level, started in. Now it's kind of like, okay, let's watch and wait. Little volatile, kind of that straight push down, no real retracement. See if we get that reaction. Little bit, but not a huge amount. Then looking at Qs as one of those things, we got that trend line. It's hard to see on the daily, but there's also a trend line down there that can act as support as well. SPY reacting a little bit off that first initial kind of got close. It didn't hit it exactly, and that's the thing with like the 100. It can overshoot, undershoot, come right in. So it's hard to say exactly what it's going to do. Q's kind of getting that first-ish reaction. Still kind of got those wicks kind of forming. See if it gives any follow through whatsoever. Could have potentially paid some there, but didn't. So it starts coming down lower. Getting ready to correct and manage the position. Decided I'm altering the risk, expanding the risk a little bit in the moment just because of how this is coming down and the lack of a reaction off of Qs. So correct that one a little bit. As you see, there's that trend line below. And again, one of my bad habits was I would just throw size in and add an average and correct willy-nilly, like versus doing it off of like actual levels. And that's something that when the time and opportunity presents itself to really do that, it's usually a good idea to exercise that. So this is my limits are 1 to 3 contracts in this current phase. I've now put in 2, so it's one of those things I know I only have 1 left. So it's one of those things where it's like got to be very selective on where I'm going to potentially put that last one in, because that'll be the final ability to correct. Then you just accept the outcome of the trade at that point. So now SPY's kind of breaking its morning low. So again, it's looking like it's going to push down more to, again, potentially ultimately stop out. The risk is a little expanded here on Qs because of that, but because of how Qs came down, it really hasn't put in a what I would call a healthy retracement. And that's something that Pat has taught us, like what's healthy versus what is unhealthy, or mature versus immature, things like that. So again, the advantages of having someone who has got a decade worth of experience and knows what the hell they're doing is they can give you that guidance, which is exactly what he did today. So looking like we're going to potentially come up to some, again, that range, that level maybe. Now SPY's coming down, not really going to be executing anything SPY, so I hit the reset. So it would basically keep tracking the price as it went down, then go off screen. Still flirting around that 100, so it's one of those things, like I said, can go overshoot, undershoot, come right to, no, depends. So not really freaking out too much about that. Qs is coming down into, again, that trend line that we had at the bottom there. And just kind of doing a thing, going sideways for the most part, which is interesting because SPY is kind of putting in that new low, but ultimately, like, yeah, deal with the swing trade real quick. The Q's kind of looks like it's, again, fairly weak morning. A little bit of retracement. And right now, it just felt like sometimes you kind of, I don't want to say you go off gut instinct, but again, just the way the chart's moving, it looks like that it's just fishing for where that support is. So we're getting close to that trend line. Seeing that kind of getting sucked up there on Q. SPY is also getting sucked back up around the 100. So it looks like there is some degree of interest. Volume is steady or even increasing a little bit. So here comes a little bit of volatility. So it's coming down to that level where good opportunity to take that final ad if it comes right into it, because as soon as it kind of breaks and confirms below that, it's one of those things where it's like definitely going to be stopping out of that one. There definitely seems to be some level of buying interest. You see the rounding a little bit, as Pat was mentioning on screen share. So I'm just kind of waiting for, see if we get an actual test. It's kind of looking good there. Then just, yeah, waiting to see where the reaction is. Starting to get that first reaction. Right up in that intraday moving average. All right, start pull the size out right down in there. Continues to kind of push on up and took off the last one. And done. Nice little green trade. Had to work for it a little bit more than, say, typical. But again, this is a good exercise in discipline management. Not freaking out, not stopping out when it's inappropriate to do so. And that's what the price action was indicating versus just, a static level on the chart. So most things, lots of good practice there. And as you can see, this thing just kind of continued to pop right up and is, fast forward, you see, just continues to work its way up all the way back up to where, it's real solid trade. If you had more size, you could have easily worked this much higher. And all in all, good stuff. And that's what you can expect to learn when you have a good high-level coach and mentor. So pull it up again here on the actual live chart. And as you can see, came up, pulled back, held, pushed up, held again, and kept pushing. So depending on your style of trade, the time you have, we like to be done within the first hour. So that was more than an adequate amount to really work this trade. If you're in that phase where you had the size to leave a 1 or 2 on to really ride it up. And and SPY came down 100 and again right there. So what was that? 80. And again, that's roughly, so it's like 50, 60 cents worth of below the 100. So that would have been, took that off 100, SPY would have worked perfectly. Again, even just taking it off back into the level. Again, that worked. And that's what you can expect when you have a good high-level coach and mentor. So if that is something you are interested in, and if you are new to this day trading or struggling with day trading, highly recommend Pat over at Trick Trades, who teaches tons of other people and successfully does so. And really worth the investment. Again, do not skimp on your education because it will come back to haunt you. As he likes to say, one of the costliest things is something that is free. So take that how you will, and hopefully we'll see you in the service and catch everyone tomorrow for the next one. Have a good one.